Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today we're going to make this really fun, interactive, fun fold card. It has some shimmer to it on the butterflies. Hope that you can see that. Here's the fun fold. Lots of butterflies. I'm going to show you a few just tips and techniques, things that I did on this that is a little bit different. You might be looking at those butterflies and say, where did those come from? And I'm going to show you all that. But there's our card, our interactive fun fold that we're going to make for today. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. If you've not subscribed to my channel, you can do that below. You can hit the bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a video. If you like the products that you see today and you would like to order them, please hop on over to my website, karensmith.stampinup.net, and you can order all of this stuff there. I was originally, when I first started thinking about making this card, it's actually for a swap that I'm in, and I was going to use, as you can see, I'm using the butterflies. That's a new set that's out, Butterfly Brilliance, and I was going to use the designer series paper that goes with this. But then yesterday I noticed, yesterday or the day before, I noticed that it is sold out. So I scrapped that, and then so I'm using this designer series paper, which comes with the flowers for all seasons, something like that, I believe. So that's where this comes from, and we're using the Just Jade, which is one of the in colors for this year. So this is what we're making for today. Let me show you what you need. To start, you're going to need your card base. And the card base is the standard card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So nothing new with that. And then a piece of designer series paper, and this is 5 1/4 by 4. And then you're going to need, I'm using circles, you could use rectangles, you could use squares, you could use ovals, but you'll need 3 graduating sizes. If you want to match, you could do it with 2. You could really do it with 1, but you'd really have to decorate it up so it wasn't plain. But I like the effect of using the 3. So we're going to need that. And then you're going to need a piece of Whisper White that is 5 1/4 by 6. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that. We're going to need to do some scoring with this. And then you'll need a scrap of Whisper White. We're going to do some sponging to come up with the butterflies for on front. Let me show you the front of the card. So this is cut with a die cut, but I sponged 2 colors on the cardstock and then cut it out, and it gave it that look. So we're going to do a little bit of sponging. So you'll need a scrap of the basic white to do that. So let's get started. Let's start with our scoring. Bring in my... Let me show you the stamp. Before I do the scoring, let me show you the stamp sets and the dies. The Butterfly Brilliance does not come with sentiments, so I had to pull sentiments from another set. So I chose to use the Fancy Phrases. I wanted to do a birthday card, and it had birthday wishes, and I needed a couple more sentiments for inside, and I felt like this gave me a wide range of options, so that's the one I chose to go with. And then you can bundle this, or you can buy the stamps and the dies separately. Butterfly Brilliance is the dice, or the stamp set. And let me show you, just so you don't get confused. So the stamp set originally comes, it's one big stamp. And this paper will kind of show you the size of it. So it was originally one big stamp, but I felt like I would get much more use out of it if they were individual. So I just took my scissors and I cut the rubber and made them individual stamps. The die set, there's 2 separate dies. One is the detailed butterflies, and we're going to use this one and this one today. And then this set, this is also part of it. They come together, and you see these outline butterflies? Those were also one piece. They were all attached and they were one piece so that they could cut out the stamp set, which was one piece. And so I had my husband get in his toolbox and find some metal snips, and we cut them apart. And so I just felt like I would use it more individually than I would the one big set. So that's why mine's going to look a little different. You'll see that I have the individual butterflies when they actually come as one big stamp, one big die set for the butterflies. The other dies that I used was from the Stitch Shapes, and I used the 3 largest circles. Okay, so now let's go back to the scoring. Okay, so on our piece of basic white, we're going to take our 5 1/4 by 6, and we're going to score it at 2 inches. And I'm going to move my blade. Let me try to, maybe if I do this, you can see both. The lighter blade is your score blade. The darker blade is your cutting blade. So I want to slide that out of the way so we don't accidentally cut our paper. So we're going to go to the 2 inch and we're going to score. And then we're going to go to the 4 inch and we're going to score. That's it. That's all the scoring that we're going to do. Okay. So let's do some stamping first. Let's start with our little circle for the front. The first thing we're going to stamp is butterfly wishes, or birthday wishes. My words today, I'm just struggling to get my words right. So I'm going to ink this up, and I'm just using the Memento Black for this. And we're just going to stamp that in the center. Okay. And then we're going to bring over the piece that we scored. And I just want to show you this. So you can see where my trimmer left a kind of a rough edge. So what I do when I have that, I have an emery board. You could use a sanding block. And I just kind of go over those edges like that to knock off those like little burrs is what I would call them. So that's how I get them off, if you should have any of those. Okay, so when you're thinking about your card on the inside, on the left, you got 3 equal panels. They're all 2 inches. The leftmost panel at the top is where your interactive part, your circle that opens, that's where that's going to be. So on the first panel, you want to make sure that your words are down here. Then for the other 2, you could put them anywhere that you wanted. I decided I liked putting the middle one high and the right side low. You could very easily switch that. It's not that big of a deal. The only one that's really integral is that first one, because if you put it up high, it's going to be hidden. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to stamp is A Little Something for You. I'm just going to ink that up, and again, I'm using the black Memento, and I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to put it down here. Okay, and then for the middle one, I'm going to do When I Count My Blessings. Again, just using the black. And I think I'm going to put it here. And then the last one is I Count You Twice. Okay. And I'm going to put this one low. There. Okay, now that's got our black done. Now I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to bring our little circle back, and I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper because I'm going to want to stamp off the, that's not really good, is it? Because it doesn't, on that white, I think you can see it. So I'm going to stamp off the edge of this. So I wanted to have a piece of scrap paper underneath. Okay, so what we're going to do, these stamps are not two-tone. And I'm going to use the smallest of the butterflies. They are not a two-tone stamp, but I wanted two different colors. So let me show you how I achieved two colors. And I'm using the Daffodil Delight. And I'm using Poppy Parade. And I'm using Petal Pink. And I'm using Just Jade. Now, I'm going to guess that anytime you do this, it's going to look different because it just depends on where you place them. You're probably not going to place them in the exact same way, and this two-tone stamping will look different every time that you do it. There's no real science to it, so it's not like a traditional two-step stamp where it's already designed for you. So, and you'll see what I mean by that in a moment. So we're going to start with the yellow, and we're just going to ink up the butterfly. And then I'm going to take a dauber for the Poppy Parade, and I'm just going to apply some ink, just daubing the middle and the edges. You can go as heavy or as light as you want. And on this front piece, because I want the birthday wishes to stand out, I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp, and you can turn your butterfly however you want it. And then I'm going to stamp. Now, with this technique, you do have to clean your stamp between every stamp because you're going to, otherwise you'll be mixing colors and it wouldn't be very pretty. So I'm just going to clean that off. And then for the other one, I'm going to go into the Petal Pink. And I'm going to take a dauber for the Just Jade. And you could do whichever, you could mix up the color combinations, you could do whatever. And then I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to daub a little in the middle and then daub some around the edges. And I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm going to stamp on the block, on the circle. And I wanted it to be a little lighter on this piece. The other pieces that we're going to do full strength, but I did want it to be a little lighter on that piece. So let's bring back in our white piece. Now, the main butterfly for the inside piece, and I'm going to move my stamp pads a little bit just so you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus, and you do not have to have a Stamparatus to do this. I just don't have the biggest block that this would fit on. So I'm using my Stamparatus because that's one way that I could do the butterfly because I didn't have a block. So let's put the white. I want to start with I wanted the biggest butterfly in the middle, and I want to start with that because everything else is going to build around that. So I'm just going to put my magnet on there. And I'm going to take the butterfly, the big butterfly, and I'm just going to figure out where, now he's going to cross over, he or she, Mr. or Mrs. Butterfly, whichever it may be, it's going to cross over the fold. And where the fold is, you'll see a break in the ink, but I didn't mind that. I'm okay with that. So just figure out how you want your large butterfly, how much you want to overlap, how much you want to stay in the middle, just however you want the butterfly positioned. And I think I'm going to position it here. Again, remember, we're not stamping up here because that's where our interactive part is going to be. So I think we're going to go about there. We're just going to shut the door, and that gets the butterfly positioned for us. And this one, I think I'm going to do, mixing up my colors, I'm going to do with the Daffodil Delight. And then I'm going to come in with the Poppy Parade. And I'm just going to dab a little around the middle. And then I'm going to come along down the sides. Okay. And then I'm just going to press down. And the nice thing about the Stamparatus is if you aren't, if you want it darker, you could always redo it. And your inks are going to be in a little different spot, so it will look different. But I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to take my basic white. I want to call it Whisper White because that's what it used to be called. I want to take that off, get rid of that. Now we're going to do the medium butterfly. And because this is a pretty open spot here, I'm going to do the medium one there. And I'm going to use the Petal Pink. And you can play around with different color combinations and see what you like. And then I'm going to come in with the Just Jade. And again, I'm just daubing a little in the center. And then I'm going around right on the edges. Okay. And then I'm just going to put this, and you can stamp off, you can stamp it however you want. I'm just going to stamp it there and press down. Okay. And then let's do another little one. Let's bring one in. I think I want to do a few of the little ones, and you can change the color combination. You don't have to do the yellow and the Poppy Parade. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to bring in the Daffodil Delight, and then I'm going to use the Just Jade with it. And again, the same process. I'm just dabbing a little of the Just Jade in the middle, and then a little around the edges. And so this is going to have even a different look. And I'm just going to put this one down here. You can do as many butterflies or as few butterflies as you would like. I'm going to do another little one right up here. Again, I need to wipe this off every time. I'm going to go ahead. I did not wipe off my mid-size one. I want to go ahead and do that because I'm going to be using it. Okay. So this one I'm going to do, let's try the Petal Pink with the Poppy Parade. Just dabbing that on there for a little bit of color. And I'm going to stamp it right up here. Okay. And then I think that's, well, yeah, let's go with that. Okay, so I am going to close my ink pads, except for the Poppy Parade and the Daffodil Delight, because I'm going to need them. I'm going to close the other two and get them out of my way. Okay, now let me show you, and I'm just going to bring in a scrap of white. You would use a bigger piece than this, but I'm just going to show you the process of what I did. So I just took my sponge daubers, And I went in with the Daffodil Delight, and I started off the page, and I just came on. And you don't want to, you want to just do a light touch. You can always darken, you can never lighten. So just come on with a light touch. And I went a couple different places. I start off the paper, and then I come onto the paper or the cardstock. And I just went in some different, just like that. And then I'm going to come in with the Poppy Parade. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in down here on this edge. I'm just going in circular motions. And you could do as much or as little as you want. Now let me show you what I did with that. I came back in. Remember the die sets that I showed you. One is a more detailed butterfly, and I just die cut that out. Now, because of all the detail, I did run this back and forth 3 or 4 times because they are very detailed, and I wanted to make sure it had really good cuts. So you can just play with it and figure out how much, you know, where do you want the pink, where do you want the yellow, how do you want to play this. And like I said, I would use a bigger piece of the white when doing this. I was just showing you the process. So let me show you what I came up with. I've already got them done and die cut for us today, but let me show you. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and close our ink pads so we don't accidentally get ink on anything. Okay, and let me show you what we come up with. When I die cut, I did this one and this one. And I left a few of these in here because I just wanted to show you. Sometimes there'll be little pieces that don't fall out right away, and you can just usually pop them out with your fingernail. And if not, you can just come in with take your pick tool and just go like that, and they pop right out. And that's why I ran it back and forth 3 or 4 times, because I wanted to have as many of those pop out. So there's what you end up. And you can see that each butterfly looks a little different. It just depends on how you place the die and how you do the inking. So that's the butterflies for the front of our card. Now we're ready to start putting the card together. Let's pull our pieces back over. And I just dropped a butterfly. Okay, and we've got one more piece. I'm going to move the daubers out of the way. Okay, so let's start by assembling the, let's put the Designer Series paper on the card base. I'm just going to put a little adhesive on there. Okay. And you just kind of want to see if you've got, just try to line it up. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and assemble our circles. We're going to start with the sentiment layer. You could use dimensionals if you wanted to pop it up. I just chose to put it flat. Okay. And then we're just going to put some adhesive on the back of this. I felt like there were so many layers and all the pretty butterflies that I didn't pop it up. And I was going to have the butterflies popped up on the front. So just try to get that centered. There we go. We've got that done. Now, we need to cut our circle in our card base. And let me bring up my Cuttle Bug. I usually try to do all my die cutting ahead of time. Stampin' Up! Does have a cut and emboss machine. I haven't gotten it yet. That's on my list. So hopefully before too long I'll have that to show you. I'm going to try to move this up so you can see how I'm placing this. Okay, so you want to put your largest circle, because this is going to make your interactive part. You want to put it more towards the top than towards the bottom. And then I chose to center it as far as side to side, but I wanted to keep it towards the top. Okay. And you are cutting through 2 layers. You're cutting through the designer series paper and the cardstock. But by doing it this way, you don't have to try to line up circles. Otherwise, you'd have to cut it out of the card base and then cut it out of the designer series paper and hope that you got everything lined up. This eliminates the need for all that. So you can just go like that. And you are cutting through a few layers. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to have to bring this back a little bit so it doesn't hit. And I'm just going to go through a couple times because we are going through a few layers. Okay. So we're done with that. All right. Let's look at what we got. All right. You can use that on another project. I definitely wouldn't throw it away. So I'm going to put that to the side. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and fold our card base, and I'm going to get my bone folder, and I'm going to burnish the fold. And I usually turn it over and go on the other side just to make sure we got a good fold. Okay, then we're going to come in with our white piece. So this is the left side, middle, right? You're going to start with a mountain fold. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in with my bone folder. And then you want a valley. Okay. And then we're going to put some adhesive on the right panel. Okay. We're just going to put some adhesive on that. I want to get some right at the top, right at the bottom. And we're going to bring our card base in. And you're just going to, you want to leave a little border at the edge, but just the normal border. Try to line that up, trying to put it in the middle. And then press that down. Okay. And then you're going to close that up, close this up. And then all you need to do, this is going to slide in here like this. So all you need to do at this point is put adhesive on this white part. Now you could use the Stampin' Seal, you could use liquid glue, however you prefer. You could use tear and tape, whatever you want to use. And then you just want to make sure to put this so the writing's the right direction. And you're just going to put that down and smooth that out. And there you have your interactive fun fold. So the only thing, we got a few more steps. So I had these little butterflies that I wanted to put on. So what I did is I just took my liquid glue, my Tombow glue, and I just put, and I kind of bent the wings just a little, and I just put a little bit of the liquid glue on the back, just down the middle. That's the only place I put the glue. And then I think I want to turn it this way. Just press it down. I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm just going to bend it just a little to give it some dimension. And then again, I'm just going to put a little bit of the liquid glue on the back, right down the middle. And I'm going to have this one flying this way. Okay. Turn it just a little. Now, because I love sparkle and glitter and all things that glitter, I came in with a little bit of the Wink of Stella. And you wouldn't have to do this step if you didn't want to. I love glitter. I'm going to get this started on a napkin to make sure it's working. Okay. And then, so I just came in, and you could do as much as you want or as little as you want. And I just kind of went like around the edges. I just wanted to give it a little bit of sparkle. So I went in the middle. You could go out this way. Just like that. And then this one, do a little bit on it. Okay. And then I'm going to do a little on the and I love sparkle and shine, so for me, Wink of Stella is great. Okay. And that's drying, but I wanted to show you I did the same thing on these. I just did it right on the body in the middle. And around the edges, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. And that's that. So let's fold the card back up. And there you have it, an interactive fun fold. You could add gems if you wanted to. You could add ribbon. You could add designer series paper over on the side if you wanted. But a nice, easy, fun fold that you can do, and you can turn your stamps into a two-tone stamp. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something new, and I hope you'll join me again soon.